Welcome back to Super Sentai Review, episode 545. We are here reviewing the final episode of number one Sentai, Gozyuger. Yep, the final one. Episode 4, yes, there is technically still a special that came before part of the show, and there is a movie that came out this summer. That's kind of what's left for this whole series because most everything else is done. So this particular Sentai series, I have been reviewing now. I looked up how long ago I started reviewing this particular one for this one. The first episode I reviewed this one because I was bench watching it. It was still airing because I had gone through the first I think it was the first 20. What was 28 episodes? I think it was. Let's see. I officially caught up with it with episode 29. Yeah, that's where I had just caught up with it. So, for mostly for 23 weeks, I've been reviewing it. And now officially is done. Yep. Started with episode 463. Right, 63. Let's see. Yes. 463. Which is the first time I ever reviewed this thing back in September of last year. Yes, believe it or not, September last year. And been reviewing it since then. And this was one I bench watched, later basically out of my review schedule. But, of course, starting next week, this is being replaced. Well, I'm still reviewing Sentai, so I still got 4 more Sentai left to go, because that's how much left to go. It's no more after this one. Because for review-wise, for Toku, because the only series I'm reviewing aside from on the weekly basis is Zex. So it's going to play starting next week with the first episode of the first episode of the new franchise, Project Red, which they do show off the character at the end of the episode as the show's hand off to the new franchise, because that's what they've been doing since since Shurikenja, I think it was a while ago they established this trend. Which is the next series starting next week is going to be Super Space Sheriff Gabin Infinity, which for some weird reason I have no idea why in this world this is, which has been reported that apparently it will not stream out in Japan until it receives some success there. Which I am one of those people. I basically heard this. I'm like, I agree. This is stupid. Really stupid idea. They want this to be a success, and you only distribute in Japan? That's dumb. Really dumb. Because this is the same thing that happened with Zex, where there was issues where it was going to be streamed, and I guess because people made a lot of noise about it, that they didn't like the fact what the original plan was for it, so they changed it what we have now for it. But I'm hoping this might be the case for Gozyuger. I'm hoping it's going to be streamed on the same channel I'm reviewing Zex on, because they've been releasing trailers for this show on that channel, so you would think they would, release it there. Apparently not. Hopefully this will change soon. Let's hopefully. So, in this final episode, episode 49, we are number one Sentai, Gozyuger. We begin, we left out last episode where Haru is named the winner of the ring battle. So, Fire Candle shows up, challenges him to one last duel by taking off his glove and throwing it in his face, which he accepts. It's like, oh, hell for that wish, and of course he fights him for quite a while. And then, of course, basically his brother shows up, who takes human form. Which begs the question, where the heck was he last episode? I think a lot of people are probably asking that. So, he fights for quite a while, and of course then he realizes, what are you fighting for? And then his wish is to redo the ring battle, which pretty much brings back all of the Gozyugers killed, except for Polar. He came back a little bit after this. So, of course, with them being back, let's bring in the grunts one more time. Yep. Let's have them fight them for quite a while. They have this weird sequence where Semiko comes back. Like, oh yeah, Semiko, you're alive. And she's back, and then she just automatically transforms, and then everybody does the really cool Hamlet's transformation they do pretty much every single final episode, which they this scene I kind of heard, I kind of got spoiled for me online, which I do agree with the opinion on this. They completely forgot to shot the scene with her without the helmet for this, because this was so dumb on the part of them, because they had to reshoot this, because this was during a period of time where the original actors had been fired due to underage drinking. So then they transform, and they fight for quite a while, and then we had the return of, I kid you not, 4 characters that have been seen for quite a while. One is the producer who worked for Toei, who's not been seen in 10 episodes. He last seen in another clip show, by the way. We have Return of Ryogi's maid. First time seeing her since episode 12. The Prime Minister. First time seeing him since the summer movie. And also, King's friend, who has not been seen since episode 34, and they all get back to rings. And I love when they have the producer, who knows, when he transforms into Go Range, which they never actually have had that one used. Which, kind of interesting to say that for the last episode, that they've had it there for a while. And I love the effect they use when he had transformed, because it's the very first sound effect you hear. Because if anybody's ever listened to the opening theme song for Go Ranger, the sound effect they use when he transforms, that's the opening sound effect from the theme song from Go Ranger. Then, of course, everybody transforms into their respective Rangers. Go Ranger, Die Ranger, Car Ranger, Dawn Brothers. Yeah, basically one from the 70s, at least 2 from the 1990s, and 1 from the 2020s. Yep. And of course, they participate in the battle, and they limit a lot of the grunts throughout this. And of course, they try to fast Fire Candle by having the 5 use all the finishers. Which for some reason, they'll bring in the special, like, Tengen Sword thing, which they've been using a lot throughout the show, which... Did this episode completely forget that it exists? Because they just forgot it exists. So, then of course, Kemu shows up. By the way, also during the course of this, Sweet Candle and Mr. Sweet Night, Miss Sweet Candle, Banquet, Tenga June, and Goldie Burns show up. Yep, they're here. And then, of course, we have the 6 Gozyugers battle Fire Candle, and he gets defeated. And... kind of in a way, he becomes Haru's friends, like, I'll beat you next time. And then later on we see them where basically they will continue the world. The Ring Hunter is there as well, which of course that's interesting. Yep. And and like, yeah, and of course the grunts of the ones that work for them, they're all happy to see Fire Candle. It's like they're gonna coexist with the humans, but not exactly sure how it's going to be dealt with. So, meanwhile, though, what's the new ring battle? It's not 1-to-1 eliminations. Oh, no. It's round robin. Which, and then we cut to 1 year... by the way, Kamu's become a god. So, basically, he wrote the world. They wrote this one. And then, of course, then we jump ahead 1 year later to go back to the very circle area that was last seen back in episode 1. Yes, where it's revealed that Haru won the ring battle again. And of course, basically, where Kamu rewrote the laws. Kind of. Ato's Rakoma. Okay. Kiji gets to keep being young and being the life of his old man and a high schooler. Okay. Byakuya continues to live as an idol, and Ray gets his illness cured. Byakuya starts a franchise for the Tenguso village restaurant, and Haru, well, he wins the ring battle, and his wish is for corn dogs, a plate full of corn dogs. Which I'm like, why? Because he's hungry. So, And like, oh, you have a job interview, and of course, pay like long pay on rent. It's nice seeing basically the actress who actually is the wife of the actor who played Time Red. He's back. She's back here for this last episode. Had to be absent in the last episode along with her son. And then we roll the credits while they're in the last bit of this, and well, and then we have basically the last official handoff. We have all the rings. And then we see Gavin Infinity making his first appearance in live action. He's not in a trailer, and he just grabs the rings and turns the ring, and it becomes basically the ring for Gavin Infinity, and that's the episode. Yes, I gotta admit, it's actually a really good finale. Yes, I like this episode. Though it doesn't exactly solve the question of, like, okay, so, like, I don't necessarily have a problem with it per se. Like, there's some minor problems I have with basically is minor complaints, but like where's the Tango Sword Blue thing that was absent? Also, the one thing big about the show was that apparently, like, part of the show, like, all the Megazords throughout the entire franchise were destroyed, and like a small handful of them came back. Of course, the show we have. First was Gozyuger, and that was the reason why I started watching it, because he was there. There was also the mecha for Shurikenger was here. Gao King was. Oh, by the way, they actually brought back the guy who had the Gao Red Ring. They brought him back for this episode. I'm trying to think. There was actually a total of 4 mechas they brought back for this one. So it's Daijujin, Gao King, the Shuriken mecha, and I believe the 4th one was the Shogun Megazord. Which I thought that was interesting. I thought that was really cool to brought those back in. I like Sasuke's cameo that he did throughout the previous episode for this one. That was really cool. I'm doing nice numbers. I like the whole idea of the ring battle, but I'll get to more of my problem with it because I'm doing my positives and negatives for it. So I liked a lot of the characters in the show. I like Kenji. I think he's a great character. Kenji's great. Sumiko, I like the character. I don't like what happened with her. I'll get to that in a minute. I'll get to my dislikes for her later. Let's see. Byakuya is very charismatic. Ryogi wasn't a lot to him per se, and I kind of thought though his maid had a thing for him, possibly, because apparently they grew up together, and I'm surprised these two, which by the way these two have not seen each other since episode 12 of the show. She was mentioned in episode 30, I think it was. Yeah, she was mentioned in 30, and afterwards she wasn't seen again this very episode. I'm like, where the heck have you been, girl? Did she get a ride home at some point? I didn't mind the first clip show they did because that was fine. The second one was very forced in the show. I'll get to it later. Let's see. I did like seeing some ring powers again. Like, I like seeing the Shogun mode in for Shuriken. I like that. I like also seeing the Deca Red armor, which I thought was really cool. Got a chance to see that again, which last time was ever seen was actually in the 20th anniversary movie for Deca Ranger. Great to see the armor again. It was also interesting that the ring that he got it from was actually the main actor from Gyo, I think his name in the franchise is. It's the one that Kaijo Kami is a big fan of. He loves that one. It's interesting they brought him in here for this one episode, and he's a detective, and in fact his whole thing is like, well, he's Deca Ranger. I like a lot of the ideas of this show, so. And some of the point is, and he pointed out though, the review when he talked about this, where he thought the special effects for the episode that featured the rings for Lupin Red and Panther Red, where they are featured, and the special effects better than the actual show they came from. I can kind of agree with that after watching Lupin Ranger vs. Panther Ranger, because I did watch that. Because during the course of the show, I was basically also watching Boomanger. Yeah, I had watched, it was Boomanger. I know that was the next one I watched, like, right after this one wrapped up. I watched Boomanger, watched all the episodes of Boomanger. that officially aired. Yep. Yeah, I finished watching Boom Manger. Let's see. I had first was Boom Manger, then Gozyuger. Yep. Wasn't another because that was just before this one, so there's that. Yeah, that one came just before this one because it was also with Gozyuger. That's where I started my new method of doing two Sentai at the same time. Yes. Mm-hmm. So aside from Boom Manger and Gozyuger, I've also worked on Blue Range Pants Range, obviously, and now Ryu Soldier. Yeah, so during the course of this, I pretty much went through 3 Sentai, which I thought was really cool for me to do that. But now, basically, the final Sentai is now completed. But, okay, so the negatives for the show. Haru, I kind of felt as though he had not a lot to do throughout the whole show until, like, there's some bits, basically, they had some character development, but a lot of the time they just completely forget to develop his character. The auto stuff, the plot there with that one, it seems like half the time they forgot this existed. And this just wrapped up on screen. Which, the way they had it was fine. I didn't have a problem with it at all, but I kind of felt as though, I'm sure Kaiju kind of felt the same way, where they just didn't know what to do this plot thread. Let's see. The ring battle. This one, it seems like for a lot of the show, it had a pretty good idea to do with it. And then for some weird reason, like after I finished caught up with the show, they just didn't do it very much. It's like they completely forgot it existed. The ring battle. You know, the big premise for this show. Yes. Okay. The whole thing of this being 50th anniversary for Sentai. I would say elements here and there, but it wasn't like a big celebration. And another negative I have, we only bring back officially one actor to reprise his character from the previous show, that being Ninja Red's actor, which is nice to see him. And the fact we also brought in Boom Manger Red's actor, though he played a different character. One negative about that character is the fact that his whole character was dropped from the show. It's like he was featured in the first 2 episodes. He walked off with his ring. No one saw the ring was never mentioned again until like these last several episodes. I'm like, and apparently just gave it up. Yeah, he's like the only one I've heard who gave it up, which I thought was so stupid. They couldn't bring him back for this episode. Was the actor that busy? They couldn't just come back and say, hey, let's have this fight and just be done over with this character. Nope. Let's see. What negative I have? The Calamity. Where they were... I think they were meant to be like the second faction of the show, but they did... It seems like they just brought him in very sparingly, and Kami Kanto pointed this out, though, in his live reviews of the show, where it's like, after they wrap up an arc, they just do something else. Let's do filler for a couple episodes instead of, continuing the show's plot. Because the first half of the show, it had a pretty stable plot, with the exception of one episode. The problem is the second half of the show, where it just seemed like the show forgot the plot. And another thing, a big negative for the show is some of those actors being fired for underdrinking, which I first heard about this when I went to Ranger Stop. That this was blasted over the internet, where Toei had fired her for underage drinking, which, in my honest opinion, was a stupid move on their part. And I think a lot of people probably be asking the question of, like, why the heck they fire her? I have no idea why. It could be a variety of reasons, and also the fact that, well, she wasn't a lot, and also it was like after like episode, I think it was like 36, that's when she got fired. And like the show itself had to spend a lot of time just re-editing basically her character, because one episode, I think it was the fashion episode, I can't remember if she was supposed to be there, but they just like, you watch the episode, you have all the guys there, but you're like, where the heck is Somoko? Oh, there she is, already suited up. This lasted for a few episodes before they finally got an actual actress to replace her, and that being Oni's sister from Dawn Brothers. Which, of course, they do give an explanation of why her face and voice look different. Also, I think maybe the actresses. Also, I think between two actors, I think Samoko's original actress was taller than her replacement. Did they bother to explain why the heck, basically, that there was a height difference? Because I can tell they look completely different. Yeah. But yeah, as it may, basically, I would say Gozyuger was not a terrible Sentai. Not in the case of Gozyuger, where it kind of felt as though that it just ended the way it did. This one, basically, I would say for the last two episodes, at least they kind of wrapped it up pretty well. I think that the wrap-up was fine. It was a lot better than a lot of other... I would say it had a very good endgame arc. Yes, definitely. I definitely thought as though, like, nothing terrible about these final episodes, except, well, Haru not Haru, when that sword, who was actually his brother, like, he was absent for the last episode for no explained reason. I mean, aside from that, it kind of felt as though they did try to wrap up the thing, but they just had to throw in the Cataclysm stuff, because that was a big hanging plot thread. And another problem I have with this show is, I think anybody can see this while watching the show, the Rangers never had a proper base. Yeah, they basically met in the restaurant, but no, like, fancy command center per se, like they did in other shows. And also, well, I do appreciate them actually doing the whole thing of storming the villain's base toward the end of the show. That was fine. Knowing that's done in like finale, but at least they appreciated they did that. I did like that. I thought that was really cool. The fact to get a chance to go to the castle again, the boated world, that was great. Did I have a problem with pretty much the villains they fighting out most of the show reforming? Interesting idea, but as far as I can tell, this is probably the first time I can think of where they reformed the entire villain cast since Car Ranger, which they only kill like one major villain, but yeah, the first time since Car Ranger, they pretty much reformed the whole cast, which I thought that was interesting. Yes, I think it was a terrible idea, and also it seemed like that Banquet's scene in it seemed like in the last episode she had no interaction with Byakuya. It's like a lot of the show was that she had a thing for him being here. Like, I kind of felt as though she was actually in love with him, and it seemed like in this last episode they just completely forgot that. Yeah, they just completely forgot that. And are they implying that she and Farkama gets him? I highly doubt it. He pretty much seems like a close friend, not as basically romantic love interest. Yeah. But I've been going for quite a while for this one, so yeah, so that's pretty much a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to notifications. Next up we have is One Piece, and then it's on to One Punch Man. Okay, next video. Bye.